Getting ready to go live.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Total Truth Show. And here on the Total Truth Show, we want to help you break free from the lies and propaganda of the mainstream media, all the disinformation and misinformation. We want to help you blast through all of that. And my name is Ken Kleinberg, coming to you all the way from the USA, San Diego, California.
And I'm Aldwyn Altuney, known as the Media Queen from the Gold Coast in Australia.
There is a great awakening happening in the world right now, and you're going to want to come along for the ride.
A lot of lies are coming to the surface. There's a lot of awakening happening, and as this awakening is happening, people realize they've been deceived for years. They've been lied to for years around all sorts of things. A lot of people have been blind to what has been going on in the world, and now they're starting to see. They're starting to see things in a different light.
Through our show, we want to raise global consciousness to quantum critical mass. And we don't want you just to accept the things that we're saying. That goes for our guests as well. We want you to do the research for yourself. Get out there and start questioning things. Start looking things up. Do the research. We want to pave the way for a new awakened world. And we want you to come along for the ride. So with that, let's get started, you guys. Let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome.
Yes, welcome aboard Total Truth Show, episode 95. Welcome, wherever you're joining us from right now on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch. Welcome. We have a return guest today chatting about the truth about home stress. The amazing Amir Meshel is in the house. We're going to do a quick intro for him. And Ken Kleinberg from San Diego. How are you going today, Ken?
Doing amazing.
Excellento. All right, now a bit about Amir. Now, I've known Amir for quite a few years. He's a fascinating man and very switched on. He's been sought after by media all over the place and has been speaking around the world, and an exceptional guy. And he is actually the founder of AI-enhanced buyers agency Aussie Coast House Buyer, and the CEO of Wavy. Now, as a father of four, he actually initially built his own investment portfolio while juggling parental responsibilities. He is a buyer's agent and a very good one at that. He's helped me with some of my own property needs over the years. And he's now leveraging AI technology to make the journey easier for others, particularly mothers looking to invest. It's very, very exciting to have you back on the show, Amir. We had Amir on an early show of ours talking about the truth about auctions. So now the truth about home stress. And of course, in Australia, in case you didn't know, in the 12 months up until December 2024, the cost of living increased in Australia from 2.5% and 4%. Okay, so it's gone up quite a bit in Australia. And of course, there's a lot of home stress because of this and multiple other reasons, which we are going to dive in today. And we've got Dinesh Munesh, good to see you from India on Instagram's joined us. We've got Marzina Sidrenka, good to see you. Congratulations, Amir, on Facebook. Good to see you. We do like to make this show interactive, so please do pop your comments in there as we go along. Welcome, Amir Meshel.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Aldwyn. Thank you so much for having me back here. I tell you what, this is a very interesting show. I've been watching a few of your episodes offline, and that's one of the things that really got me interested in showing up and answering a few questions.
Fantastic. Thank you, Amir. We're glad you like the show. 95 episodes strong. Longer than a lot of
thank you. Thank you for being a fan as well. So we always appreciate our watchers. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Amir. Okay, now why this topic, the truth about home stress, Amir?
You know, there's a lot of things that are common across the board. The biggest thing is that if you can reduce stress in your life, you live longer. And more importantly, you're not just increasing your lifespan, you're increasing your health span. And a lot of people don't really touch on it, or they pay it lip service. But imagine living a longer life where you're happier, you're more active, and you can do more things rather than, yes, you're 125 years old, but you've been sitting in the same room staring at a blank wall for the last 15 years with the robot behind you just keeping you ticking over, ticking over, ticking over. It's not as much fun as it sounds. And for those of you that are in the AI conspiracy, thinking that the AI is going to take over and have us all sitting in chairs just facing the walls, then let's fight against and be more human.
Yes, and that's the thing, is that AI will never have that heart-to-heart connection, or robots will never have the heart-to-heart connection that humans have. However, whether we like it or not, the AI world is moving ahead at a cracking pace. In fact, I was just watching a AI-generated avatar on one of the AI apps, and I was blown away at how human it looked. It's phenomenal. So this is going ahead, whether we like it or not. Now, Elon Musk actually said he thought that by 2040, we're going to have 1 billion humanoid robots on the planet. Now, these robots will be able to, fold your clothing and, wash your dishes, things like that. However, Amir, what you've really done in your business is you now have this AI enhanced buyers agency where you're putting these AI tools into place and helping your clients to buy property much quicker at better prices. It's really fast tracking the whole process, isn't it?
It is. And the easiest thing for me is just go, hey, let's have an AI seminar. Let's do an AI webinar. I'm not going to do that today, I promise. And you probably noticed that the first thing I said was that objection handling of, yes, people are scared of AI. No, robots are not taking over. Yes, I do run an AI enhanced agency, but that doesn't mean that we're all AI. And look, you've touched on this very topic with Elon Musk. So you were talking about 1 billion with a B AI robots. Let's put that in perspective. Currently, let's talk round numbers. There's 8 billion people on Earth. 2 billion are Gen Alpha. So do you remember when people said, oh, no, they're Gen X or they're Gen Y, they don't understand. And then after Gen Y, we talked Gen Z, we talked millennials. So Gen Alpha is the biggest population group. They are between newborns and 15-year-olds at the time of this recording. So what does that mean? That means that if you think that there's 1 billion robots that are folding clothes, that are gathering the dishes, stacking the dishwasher, emptying the dishwasher, the menial jobs that we don't want to do, that we don't get value from, it's not so far out of realm. You're not talking crazy figures, because your 15-year-old today, in 5 years' time, at 2040, will be 20. So guess who will be voting? Guess whose votes count? That large population that's over 18. So you got your 18 to 20-year-olds now starting to make decisions and impacting economy, what people spend their time on, what people spend their energy on, what people spend their money on. So really, when we talk about home stress, and this is going back to the topic, there's only really a triangle. And the triangle is just 3 things: time, money, energy. So regardless of what industry you're in, regardless of whether you're today 72 years old or you're a Gen Alpha at 12 years old, you still choose what to put your time and your energy into. So how do you combat stress? So I'm going to cover about 10 different things today, and I'll fly through them really quickly. But I'll give you one promise: at the end of this interview, at the end of this session, I'm going to give you how I've coped, what I've done to not just recognize the stress, but to minimize, to mitigate, to erode stress so that it's the smallest part of my life, and that adds to a healthier life. It adds to healthier relationships. It adds to a better love life because you're connecting. It adds to a better home because you can now buy in a better location for a larger house, or a house that's more suitable for you. It gives you a better relationship with your kids. It gives you better health, because when you've minimized your stress, you can really focus on the movement, the sport, the energy. Just, do you remember when you go out and you just have fun just because it's the energy of just dancing with your friends, or, it's not exercise running, it's just running after a frisbee, or just, like having fun. It's that kind, going for a swim, not because you need to do your 50 laps, not because your watch is telling you you've got to do your 10,000 steps. You just do it because it's fun. So getting rid of that silly stress and getting back to normal life there's so many little magic things you get out of it.
Yes, absolutely, Amir. I can't wait to hear your 10 steps for us. I did feel a little bit of stress just coming on, though, because I thought I better just fact check this 1 billion. And because last time I heard, Elon Musk predicted 1 billion humanoid robots by 2040. But actually, the updated stats, if you do believe Google, and sometimes Google does get it right, okay, if you do believe Google, then it actually says here 10 billion humanoid robots, priced between $20,000 and $25,000. Here it is here. This was announced by Reuters in Cairo, and Elon Musk announced this at the 8th Future Investment Initiative Conference, which was in Saudi Arabia's capital, Riyadh. So there you go, 10 billion. I stand corrected if Google is actually correct here. So that is insane.
Now I want to insert something here and I was writing it down as I was thinking of it. So I think in the aspect of the way you're speaking of it, Amar, that doesn't bug me. Like maybe possibly having a robot that does like all the little menial tasks and stuff like that. Okay, I can see that. The only thing that I throw caution towards that way is what about movies like iRobot and what happened there? So there's that. Secondly, in regards to AI, I think there is a very legitimate and significant danger in this aspect. There are going to be those that use AI to think for them, which I think should not be done. And I'll put that as my very strong opinion on there, should not be done. And then there's going to be those that use AI as a tool. There's a big difference. You're still thinking, you're still doing your own research, you're still using the heart, but you're using that as a tool to further help you strategize in your business, to help you produce content, whatever that is. It's a tool. I think in that aspect, it is extremely helpful. But I think there's a danger because we already came out of an era of people who got used to being told what's right, what's wrong, what's healthy, what's not. And those people literally got to the place of, and I'm using this, I'm not trying to step on any toes here when I say this, but we just came out of an age of complacency. Always accepting what we're being told on the TV, never looking up the data for ourselves. So we stopped asking the real questions, and look at where that got us. Thankfully, summer of 2020, or what happened in the whole year of 2020 and beyond, has woken a lot of people up, and now people are actually asking the questions, people are actually doing the research, people are actually looking at the data, which is exactly where I believe we need to be, especially in today's day and age. But I think there could be a risk factor in AI, artificial intelligence, coming in and now doing the thinking for people again. And so there's a chance that we might fall back into that same complacency. So those are just kind of like the things that are on the top of my head in regards to that whole thing.
I love that. I love that, Ken. I'll tell you why I love that. When you think about the list of fears that people have, the fear of the unknown is one of the biggest ones. And I joke sometimes when I tell people that I've recently watched a documentary, and then I talk about a comedy that's been on TV as if it's a documentary. So, you know, our little shows like iRobot, are they documentaries? Are they future pacing? Is it life imitating art or art imitating life?
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is that when somebody's thinking of AI, if you think about a spell checker on your computer, when we used to use the old typewriter, and
Correct.
you'd have to go back and use liquid paper or Tipex or, you know, those little stickers that covered
I
the
remember that.
mistakes.
Oh my gosh.
You remember that?
Yeah.
So there was always a way to correct things using machinery. And it might have been the metal prong hitting the number incorrectly,
Mm-hmm.
or it could have been the electronic typewriter, or the next step up was a spell checker. And then, of course, there was the grammar checker. So what was the first thing that people said? They said that with a grammar checker, the school kids are going to lose handwriting skills. They're going to have messy handwriting.
Right.
Then they're going to forget how to spell. They're not going to know how to use grammar. They'll choose to not use punctuation. And once they choose it enough times, they'll never use punctuation. They'll never go back to putting the apostrophe in the correct spot in there. And it was the there, and there. It's so confusing. So has that happened? Do people now not know how to speak English, how to write English? I don't think that's happened. But you do
No,
know
you
that
are correct. That hasn't happened. And I, for one, I am the worst speller in the world. So I'm always using voice to text, but I still do type. I still do write. But speaking further into like movies like iRobot. All right. So there are certain things out there that I know about the media, and I'm sure you do as well. And what I mean by that is predictive programming. We have recently seen there's been a lot of different shows. I think The Simpsons is another really good one that often highlights things of the future that have come to pass now. That's kind of what so you are correct. Yeah, there's a little bit of fear. There's a little bit of concern there because I'm like, I know that a lot of these movies that come out of Hollywood, there's an agenda behind them. There's predictive programming going on. So that's kind of why I bring that concern. All right, anyhow, back to you, my friend.
Yes, I want to add to that because this is absolutely perfect for the topic because we're talking about home stress. And what do a lot of people do at home is they're watching the TV,
Yeah,
ridiculous hours on the TV at home, and half of this is creating your bloody home stress, right? Is what you choose to consume. And the Out of Shadows documentary covered this perfectly, right? Came out in June 2020, had 10 million views in a month, and then got shut down. It talked about the programming that happens through Hollywood, through movies, through dramas, through our TV, our television, through our channeling and programming that happens through the media. It's causing a lot of home stress, as well as add to that the cost of living and everything else.
Yes.
So, Amir, back to you now. I had to add that in there.
So I'd love to talk about The Simpsons for a moment. I don't know if you remember the episode where Homer Simpson went to space and it ended with "In Rod We Trust." But think about Ken Brockman. Do you remember the news announcer, Ken Brockman? At one stage, Homer Simpson broke an aquarium that had ants in it. And the ants are all flying in that zero gravity part of the space shuttle. And as the ant comes closer to the camera that's on the space shuttle, it becomes massive. And so Ken Brockman starts doing an announcement saying that he supports our new ant overlords and pledges allegiance to the ant overlords.
Right.
The same thing's happening with AI. So there's people that are saying, look, Meta, meaning Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, meaning X, and a few other social media programs. I don't know if we're allowed to say that. Does that help the algorithm or does that push us down?
No, you're allowed to say that for sure.
Okay.
Right.
So if we name drop things like YouTube and Google, and Google and YouTube are search engines now. So YouTube isn't just something to see video; it scrapes, meaning it checks what people are talking about and delivers more of what they're talking about. You're talking about television, right? So you're telling a story through these mediums, and video is a very powerful video. Video is a very powerful medium. So what does the AI want to tell you? It wants to tell you the stories you want to hear. Why? Because it gets paid on engagement. The longer you stay on YouTube, the more they can charge for an advert for somebody to advertise on YouTube. And so they're saying to a real estate agency that they should advertise on YouTube because they've got 2 million followers on a Tuesday at 1 p.m. There's 2 million sets of eyeballs watching. But here's the thing, and this is the truth about it that you've never thought about. Do you have a chatbot? Do you have a virtual assistant working out of Australia, maybe in India, maybe in the Philippines? Are they the ones that are consuming YouTube? Because I can tell you, they're not going to be buying whatever the real estate agency is selling. So yes, you've got sets of eyeballs, but they're not your buyer. Do you think the CEO of Nike is sitting on Facebook watching your content? They're not. Probably not even their executive assistant. Maybe the VA of the VA of the VA is watching it, and they're not your buyer. So what are you doing? You're feeding the algorithm. How do you like that, Ken?
It does make sense. Correct. Wow.
Absolutely. We are feeding the algorithm, and soon people won't be able to think at all for themselves because AI will be telling us exactly how to think, and people are going to get lazier and lazier. And, I'm sure a lot of kids nowadays have no idea how to add up without a calculator, or, work out anything maths wise without a calculator, etc. So, and in saying that, it's also making marketing absolutely insane with the amount of content we are now all getting. So there's a lot of people also in this overwhelmed state, which is adding to the home stress and the life stress people have with all this overwhelm of information that's coming out. It's, people are just, this is why I actually put a post on Facebook saying yesterday, does it feel like time is speeding up for you? Like, I feel like nowadays, I feel like I wake up and next thing I know, it's time to go to bed again. It's like, what the hell happened with, like, it just, it just goes like that now, it feels. And I think partly because we're so busy doing so many different things and in flow, and I know I'm in flow and I'm loving life and I'm getting a lot done. I'm actually being ultra productive, and there's always more to do as well, right? There's always like this never ending to-do list, which can also add to home stress, business stress, life stress. And then on top of that, in a home environment where a lot of people are in relationships. I mean, we saw lots of relationships break up over the last few years because of what we were seeing through the mainstream media and because of the pressures, the social distancing, the masking, all of that happened during the last 4 years. A lot more home stress was created. In fact, Linda Morrison was talking about this on our last show about domestic violence rates went up during this time as well. So, we've been bombarded, and it's been a challenge, I think, emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually over the last few years. That's all added to this home stress that people have. So, Amir, I'm really curious what your 10 things you're going to share with us today, and if you want to add anything to that as well.
Yeah, I was going to turn it over to him, but I also want to give a little time reality check. So we actually have 55 minutes to hard stop.
Okay.
Love it. Love it. I love, it's good that you're watching the clock as well, because I can get engrossed in a conversation and just completely miss the next bus or the next ferry or whatever I need to be on.
Yes.
So here's the quick and painless version of it. If you think about the top 10 things, the things that people are, or at least the media, the things that people are scared of is fear of missing out and FONGO, which is fear of not getting out. So that means that somebody gets into a deal, they buy a property, they invest, and then they're locked in. They've got a mortgage on it, and then the price drops and they can't clear that property, they can't sell it. When you're living in it and you're buying it as an owner-occupier, you're living in it as a home to live in, it doesn't really matter because you're not trying to get out. In fact, it's the exact opposite. You're trying to build a community. You're trying to get to know the other kids in your child's class so that they get invited to the birthday parties, and you're building up a close group of friends. So there's no fear of getting out when you buy to live in. The fear of missing out, again, if you want to think of investment point of view, you're running the numbers and you're thinking, well, the price is going up or the rent is going up and the return is going to change. The numbers will change. When you're thinking the other side, to live somewhere, there are enough houses for people to live in. What that means is they might not be able to buy them, but they can rent them. So if you want a shelter over your head and you're working and you're earning enough of an income, then you can do it if you choose well, but it might be further down the track, meaning time-wise or distance. So you might be 3 kilometers from your school, so you might need to catch 2 buses. But there'll always be some sort of shelter. Who wants to live in a desert? Not many people. People prefer to live nearby. So the fear of missing out is missing out on one exclusive property that's close to the school, but not too close to the school. So it's not in the noisy zone. You don't hear the bell going all the time, but it's 200 meters, which means you can still walk around to it. So it's the balance of, it's not like a 1 or a 0. It's actually a preferred. Can I get my preferred home? Can I get the preferred outlook? If I prefer to live in a unit that faces northeast to get the sunlight all day and to get the sunrise, then that's your preferred. You might still get a south facing, or you might be able to, but your preferred is the north aspect, or north if we're in the southern hemisphere like Australia is. So that's your preference. But that isn't as stressful as having an absolute 0 or a 1 computer to say you're either homeless or you're in your perfect penthouse apartment. So there's so many ways to just de-stress yourself, to not feel nervous about it, because even though your preferred version is one thing, it's not a be all and end all. So that's the first thing to think about.
Yes, good point. And, the home stress, of course, when we talk about this topic, there's home stress within the home, and then there's those who are living in rented homes that might have some stress, and there's those that are living in their own homes and might have noticed that the rates have gone up, and some people are paying ridiculous amounts of land tax because they have a certain amount of property. And all of that can also add to this home stress, and all of that needs to be considered when you look to buy investment property. And this is where, you make your money when you buy the property, right, Amir? And buying is so crucial. And if you know what you're doing, you can save a fortune and make a lot more money if you buy smart.
Absolutely. So if you're thinking about the how, the when, and the why, it all comes back to the why. So even though there's a lot of different facets to it, once you work out your why, do you want to be close to something? Do you want to be close to your friends? Do you want to be close to your work? Do you want to be close to your university? The small details, if you have the right answers and you have the right mentor and you have the right coach, they can really lead you towards getting the preferred version rather than the second-rate option.
The compromised version.
The compromised version. And what does that mean at the end? So we talked about living in the desert as opposed to living close to your school. The property that most people want, that coastal property on the east coast of Australia, in 15 years' time, in 10 years' time, in 5 years' time, that has gone up in price everywhere. And I don't mean like 50% of the time or 80% of the time. When you look at a 10-year timeline for a property with land, so there's land and a house on top, or land and a unit on top, or land and a townhouse on top, that component has gone up in price over the last 10 years. There's 742 suburbs on the east coast of Australia, and those 742 coastal suburbs have all gone up in price, not 99%, but 100%. So people say, well, is it going to go up in the next 2 years? It'll go like this, but it'll trend up. So it's not guaranteed to be a straight line, not to be linear. It doesn't do a quantum leap where it's here and then it just jumps to here. It gradually ebbs and flows. But when you look at a 10-year period, it always goes up if you haven't picked the middle of the desert. If you've picked an area where they only have the one thing, you're taking the biggest risk ever. So is it possible? Yes. Are there properties like that? Yes. Does it give you a good business card to say, I bought something for $1,000, a house for $1,000? Hey, it's bragging points, isn't it? But it doesn't mean it's going to give you the same vehicle.
And picking the market is so important. I had a property in Mackay, the first property I bought actually many years ago now, and I sold it 10 years later, and I sold it for actually about the same price I bought it. But what happened is the next year it actually jumped up. It basically tripled in price the next year. So if I'd only held on just one more year, it would have made the world of difference. However, these are all learning experiences, and at least I got in and I took some action. And that's the thing. Too many people sit on the fence and they get a sore bum, don't they, Amir? Too many people just sit on the fence and they just can't decide, or they're just looking at all the details. Everything has to be exactly perfect. What are some obstacles that you see, Amir, with all the people that you've dealt with that want to buy property? What are some of the biggest things also, other than what you've mentioned, that stops people from buying?
For sure, the splinters. You sit on the fence and you get the splinters, and they spend so much time educating themselves, and they find out where is the hottest suburb, what's coming up next. By the time they get off the fence and make a decision, that was good 3 months ago. Now it's still a good suburb, but the prices people have been watching the news, and so they attend more auctions, and so the price pressure keeps going up, and so now you're not getting good value because it was good 3 months ago when they first reported it, not now.
Yes.
So yeah, the painful splinters of indecision. I was interviewed on SBS on a show called Insight on SBS. And I said that the most painful thing, the thing that the show was called, Can You Live a Life with No Regrets? And I said, the only regret is not taking action. If you take action and you take the right action at the right time, you're moving forwards. The only regret is not taking action.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Exactly. And you often hear, when's the best time to buy property? Well, it was 10 years ago. When's the next best time now, right? Because, you know, it's there's always deals in every market. There's always great deals to be had, whether the market's going up or down or sideways. There's always great deals. And this is where working with an expert like yourself, Amir, as an expert buyer's agent with 26 years of experience in this field, you know your stuff. You do this day in, day out. And this is where you help save people a fortune with buying property. And also, I think a big thing that stops people, they think they don't have the money. They don't have the money to, and it is getting admittedly a little bit more challenging now to get loans. Like when I first bought property, we had a lot of low doc lending. Now low doc lending has cut back a lot. You can still get low doc loans, but you're paying more interest for it. But the thing is, even to pay more interest, you know the property is going to maybe double in the next, they actually say about 7 years. I think it doubles in 7 years mostly. But as you say, in 10-year cycle, you know you're going to make your money back on it, even if you're paying more interest. And one of my loans I got, I paid mortgage insurance on it, right? Because I didn't quite have enough, you know, a loan to value ratio and all the things they look at, LVRs and all those things they look at when you're buying property, you know, how much cash flow you got coming in, all that sort of thing. So I paid thousands of dollars in mortgage insurance, but now that property has, since 2012, it has actually now tripled in value. So that's not just double, it's tripled. So and I bought it at auction, and I bought it and I paid I paid 150 grand above what it was what the people were ready to let it go at the reserve price. And I've still made 3 times the amount, even though I paid more at the time, as it turns out. But if I had someone like you, Amir, I'm sure you would have said to me, you know, at the time, you probably would have got it even cheaper for me. But, you know, there's a thing, like, don't let perfection get in the way of progress, right?
Yeah. Yep. And the 7-year thing, I didn't say that, you did.
No, I said that. Yeah. I said that. I have heard that along the grapevine. You're saying 10 years. So you've obviously looked at the stats closer than I have. But I have heard 7 years bandied around the place, that properties double in 7 years. Mostly.
So there's so many different numbers, and I've seen properties double in 3 years. So I'm not saying it doubles in 10 years. I'm saying it's always gone up in 10 years. And the distinction there is some people buy in an area where they don't want capital growth. They want a rental income because they don't want to touch their mortgage themselves. They want to be able to take the stress out of their work. So imagine, and this is the second thing about reducing the stress in the home, imagine showing up to your work, but knowing that regardless of what the boss says, what your customers say, how many people walk through your front door if you're in a bricks and mortar business, how many people order online from you if you're running an e-commerce business, imagine having something where you're not reliant on it. You're not stressed because you've got no purchases. Imagine if your rental income is paying the total amount that you need to repay the bank, plus your water rates, plus your council rates, plus your insurance. So if your rent is covering all of that, how does it make you feel? It completely removes the stress, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
So that's the big number. And I've switched off now the Instagram, because what I wanted to do is I wanted to do a behind the scenes. But I noticed that because we're taking big gaps in you answering one thing, me answering another, on the other side, it's going to look like long periods of silence. So I didn't want people to freak out and just see me just sitting there nodding.
Got you.
That's not the whole interview. So back to what you were saying, that thing of doubling every 7 years, some people aren't specifically looking for that. They're looking for a house close to the school. So there was a couple that I helped to buy a house in Kingsford, which is in Sydney's eastern suburbs. It's close to the university, which is where both parents worked. But it's also close to the university, the hospital, but it's also close to the school that their 5-year-old went to. And what that means is at this age, they can walk with the child to the school, but in a year's time or 2 years' time, the child can walk on their own to the school from home to school. It also means that when there's a birthday party, they get invited because it's nearby. And so all of a sudden you're building this community where you're going to the barbecues, you're going to the birthday parties, you celebrate Australia Day together. And it's just a much better community. And what does it mean when you have a stronger community? Less stress.
Mm.
So think about the stress of home. The truth about the stress of home is isolation. The truth about the stress at home is financial pressure. The truth about the stress at home is the unknown. The truth about the stress at home is being evicted. So I'll tell you a story, if that's all right.
Sure.
Back in the day when I was young and dinosaurs roamed the earth, we had a massive Sydney hailstorm. I was living on Gardeners Road, or just on Gardeners Road, which is in the Kingsford area, but I was renting. And I always paid my insurance up to date, so I was covered for my contents insurance. I was expecting my first child, recently married, and the Sydney hailstorm hit. I was out with one of my prospects trying to, talk to them about business in my car, only about 15 minutes away from my house, and I get a phone call. You better come home. The roof's collapsed. So now we're expecting our first child, and my new bride is at home, and our whole furniture, our home, our bed, gone, completely waterlogged. The hailstorms smashed the roof. The paint was bubbling, like the whole ceiling was caving in. It was totally unlivable. And I paid my insurance on time, always. So what does that mean? As a tenant, the landlord, the person who's in charge of the house, can now break your lease. You can have a 12-month lease, but they can say to you, unfortunately, this house is no longer livable. Here's your letter to say you can get out now. So it's their choice to say it's too risky for us. We don't want somebody living here just in case they get hurt. So that's it. You're leaving tomorrow. Not 2 weeks notice, but immediately. And that's what happened to me.
Oh my gosh.
I was working full time, expecting my first child, paid my rent in time, paid my insurance in time, and I had absolutely no security. Why? Because I'm the renter, not the owner. On the other side, the owner, they have a period of time where they can, if they live in the house, their insurance quite often pays for them to live in a hotel for a while. The insurance pays for them to pack their remaining stuff and move it somewhere else. If things are completely damaged, the insurance pays for them to recover or repair or replace the things that they've lost. As the renter, you get a pack of money to say, here's money to replace what you've lost. But that's it, you're homeless. So on a Tuesday morning, on my way to work, I had to ring work and say, unfortunately, I have to go real estate shopping to find a new place to rent. Do you know what they said to me? No, you have to come in. They had to say, you had to come in because everybody's affected by the hailstorm. It's not just you. The whole area that you work in, because I worked close to home, the whole area has been affected by this hailstorm. So everybody's in the same thing. You need to come to work because nobody's coming. I didn't come to work. I said, look, I'm homeless. I can't show up to work. So I didn't. And within 2 days, I found a new place. Why? Because I had money saved in my account where I could pay the bond immediately. So I inspected the same day, the day after the hailstorm. I found another rental place. I paid the deposit. They said yes because they saw I've got a good history. So if you keep your thing okay, you'll always be okay in the competition side. But you know how everybody's butt hurts from the splinters of sitting on the fence and procrastinating?
Yes.
Imagine if I waited one more day. Imagine if I went to work on Tuesday and started looking on Wednesday. They would all be gone. All the rental places. I started at 9 a.m. as soon as all the real estate agents opened. The hailstorm happened at 4:30 p.m. on the Monday. By Tuesday, 9 a.m., I was door knocking, I was inspecting, I was talking to the agents. I had my finance ready. I had my ID ready. I was ready to go. If I procrastinated just one day and didn't take action for just one day, how painful would it be to try to get the splinters out of my bum from sitting on the fence?
Wow, what a story. Wow. Oh my gosh. I mean, that is extraordinary. And, there's people that do things like, rent to buy and, there's all these different ways to get in. And you got in with only $5,000. Is that right when you first invested in property?
Yeah. So it was a very strange situation. It was very, very strange. So there were no properties that you could buy for 100,000. So 5,000 was not ever going to be a deposit, but it was enough for me to decide to go online to do e-learning and to see how I could increase that 5,000 as quickly as possible to 85,000. And 85,000 was enough for me to use as a deposit. So I learned online because I was a single parent and my two kids were living with me. They were both under the age of 10. So imagine, school time and all that kind of stuff. When they're asleep at night, I would get into the other room, open up the computer, and do courses online to learn, to find out what I could do to increase my $5,000 deposit to something that I could buy with. And by doing that at the same time as I was inspecting properties and looking at properties and negotiating on properties, meant that I could get just up that ladder just enough so that I can get into the ladder to buy a property. And that first property led to the second, led to the third. So I got to the stage where I had more than 10 properties and started investing in company names and self-managed super fund names so that the properties aren't just in my personal name. But you have to start somewhere. And the earlier you start, the more forgiving the market is. What do I mean by that? Well, sometimes the interest rate goes up, sometimes the interest rate goes down. Sometimes, like now, we've got a federal election coming up. Just before a federal election, do you know what happens? All the house prices come down. Why? Because the people that still have their property on the market are desperate to sell. So they will accept an offer that's lower than 2 weeks after the election when everything's landed, when people know if it's going to be an independent, if it's going to be liberal, if it's going to be Labor, they'll know what the budget is going to look like. So that stability means that house prices can be secure, the owners can charge more. The instability just before an election is the best time to buy. And I've seen multiple cycles of federal elections, and it's always the same. People are scared of what they don't know. And so there's good times to buy and bad times to buy. It's always good to buy when the other person is desperate.
Absolutely. And there's always going to be desperate people out there, that's for sure. So, in fact, the property I bought in 2012, it was a deceased estate and the kids just wanted to sell it. And I actually went to the auction looking for a friend of mine. I wasn't actually looking to buy property, but I happened to see an ad in the paper back then, back in the days of dinosaurs. It was in the paper, and well, actually 2012 wasn't quite dinosaurs, but and I saw this property, a big block of land in Ashmore, and I ended up buying it. So, and even though I paid 150K over the reserve, it's still now tripled in value in that time. In fact, I had one of the local councillors want to buy it off me a few years ago, but they didn't offer enough. So I'm sitting on that property now. I'm not selling unless I get the right price, and I've had much better offers since then. And I'm just hanging in there. I think you've got to be patient when it comes to selling as well. Although you do have a very cool a website you're involved with called Wavy, which can help people sell their own properties, right? Could you tell us a bit about Wavy?
Nice brand drop. I like that. So yeah, look, absolutely. I just want to say Ashmore,
Yes.
just for reference, just for context, in Wagga Wagga, there is an Ashmore, and the quality of Ashmore in Wagga Wagga is nowhere near your Ashmore, which is in Queensland. So for people watching this in Victoria, New South Wales, and Queensland, you're referring to Ashmore, Queensland, not Ashmore close to Wagga.
That's right, Ashmore on the Gold Coast. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the kind of the big number there. Wavy. What happened with Wavy completely changed how I look at AI. Let me explain. I went to the newspaper actually on this as well. In 2020, March 2020, I think I still have the paper, like the big paper newspaper from back then. The property section of the Daily Telegraph interviewed me. And I was telling them in 2020 that just as everything was locking down, the question was, what is going to happen to property prices? My prediction back then, of course, that came true, was that property that's close to transport will always keep increasing in value. I had my own house on the market in 2020. We had 3 offers come through on the property. All 3 of them were above my reserve. So we looked at the 3 offers. We accepted an offer. We were about to sell the place. So we literally told the person who made the offer, we went through a real estate agent who's a bricks and mortar real estate agent. They're one of the big ones. We said to them, yes, accept the offer, send them an email, we approve, tell our solicitors to sign the paperwork, etc. Lockdown happened, and the person who made the offer got scared and pulled out. So then we contacted the second highest offer, which we accepted because it was still above our reserve. And that person got scared because of lockdown and pulled out. So we went back to the third person, and their offer again was lower. And we said, okay, so where's your solicitor? Let's get this done. Guess what they said? They were scared. They pulled out.
Oh.
So we left it for a few years and came back. Now we're no longer in lockdown, and we decided to go with an online platform called Wavy, W-A-V-I-E. What Wavy does is it takes the stuff that you normally do anyway, the photos of the house, the floor plan, the virtual tour, they package it all up and they put it on the internet so that people can search for it. Their speciality is knowing how to look for things and knowing where your potential customers are actually looking, what words they use, what keywords, what meta phrases, what's advertised on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, so that you're having conversations with more real humans, real potential people that would want to buy your place. And so it gets in front of more people. And within 15 days, our property sold. The same one that we advertised and then couldn't sell, that we had to take off the market, sold at 15 days for $1 million more to somebody who didn't sit on the fence. Somebody who saw it on Wavy on the same day they came to us to inspect. They looked, they made an offer the same evening. We negotiated for about an hour, going backwards and forwards on terms and all that type of stuff. But we accepted their offer. We signed, they signed, the exchange was done. 15 days, $1 million.
Wow, that's extraordinary. And the website there, for those that want to check it out, it's wavy, wavie.com.au. And it's a great website, actually. And it says Australia's first zero commission agent assisted property listing service that saves you thousands while keeping you in control. It's a smart listing site. So definitely check that out for those looking to sell. And for those looking to buy, of course, speak to Amir. What are your thoughts on this, Ken?
I think it's fascinating. Very, very fascinating. So I'm definitely intrigued with that. Something else, though, that I'm also intrigued with. So I think you've mentioned 3 of the 10 points that you wanted to go through. So I'd like to hear the rest of them, kind of helping you keep on track as well, because I'm watching the time tick away and I'm going, okay, where's the rest? So I'd like to hear the other points that you have to bring across.
Well, in the world, there's 3 types of people: those that are good at maths and those that are not.
Right, exactly.
And that can cause a lot of stress itself.
So Ken, I'm glad that you're helping me count to 10. So that was the third one. The fourth one is the fourth one is, we spoke a bit about the unknown. So
okay.
Right,
see, I missed some of the points then.
No, you're right on track.
Okay, cool.
So think about the unknown. The things that people don't know is going to happen in the future can cause massive fear, which can cause stress. The majority of that is not the fear of missing out, not the fear of not getting out, but the fear of somebody's job changing. So when you think about the recurring income that somebody gets, or the pay slip that they get, if you don't know if your job will be replaced by AI in 2 years' time, if you don't know whether your industry will survive the changes that have happened because of the last 4 years, if you're not sure whether you're in a sustainable type of a job, think about somebody who's working in a coal mine today, and they realize that the number of workers in a coal mine compared to the number of workers in a nuclear power plant is massively different. Currently, Australia as a population is debating whether we should have nuclear-powered power stations. Now, that's 30 years in the future, so it's really not something immediate. Apart from the Gen Alpha that we talked about at the beginning of the conversation, most people are just saying, okay, well, that's a fantasy out in whoop whoop land. It'll never happen. And you know why it won't happen? Because if nuclear power stations were such a great idea for the government, they would put one in Canberra, one in Lake Bellygriffin, which is it's a massive lake in the middle of Canberra. And think about who uses electricity most. It's the politicians, it's the big offices that are close to the center of Canberra. And is it defended? Yeah, it's heavily defended. So you've got ADFA, the Australian Defence Force Academy, next to it as well. So all the fears that people are saying, well, no, it'll pollute the water because nuclear power stations use a lot of water. It'll pollute the water system. It'll be a defense problem. Has to be far away from a city, but if it's too far, you can't transmit it through the power lines. So all these like little things of no, it'll never work. If it was ever going to work, then Canberra is probably the only place where a politician can say it's safe and we're going to try it in our own backyard first. But everyone's like, well, not in my backyard. So that's one of those things that is like, you might future pace things, but that doesn't mean it's ever going to be a reality. So how does that translate to stress in the home? Stress in the home is when people think that the future is going to change, but this is their internal thought process catastrophizing. They think of the worst case scenario in the future. They're not thinking something realistically. They're just thinking the what if. And yeah, look, it's worthwhile thinking of the future if it's going to be on the spectrum of reality, but not those fantasies that there's one chance in 100 of it happening. So that's number 4. Number 5, if you think about the why, which is what we spoke about before, about being close to a community, think about the how. So that's the flip side of the coin. You know the why, but your biggest stress level is, I don't know enough because my speciality is orthopedic surgery. My speciality is dentistry. My speciality is accounting. I don't know how to inspect properties. I don't know how to compare this house to that house, apart from what the advertising says on whatever website you're using. Could be Domain, it could be realestate.com.au. So you're comparing a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom to another 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom. Yes, they're both in the same suburb. Is that enough information to tell you whether they should be the same price or one should be more expensive than the other? It's not. You really need to know what you're talking about. There's such a massive difference between 2 houses, even on the same street, even if they're both facing north. I don't want to spend an hour explaining the difference, but think of it just from the point of view of when they were built. If they were both built in 1990, they might have asbestos or they might not. If they were both built in 2005, neither of them do. So if you're buying one that's a 1990, one that's 2005, you're already risking something where it could be under the tiles, it could be behind walls, it could have been painted over by somebody that did something illegally. And so these things are not in the realm of impossibility. They're actually quite likely. And so you need to know these things, because otherwise you're making a big mistake. And the scary thing is, the stress in the home is taking a big gamble. Buying, the average in Australia for a house now is 1.1 million. So if you're throwing $1 million at a maybe, if you're taking a risk, a gamble with the bank's money and your money, so what if the bank is lending you 80%? You still need to pay back that 800,000. So you're taking a very, very big gamble. So the biggest stress comes from that fear of not being sure, against the fear of missing out, against the fear of not getting out. So what does that mean? That's just stress, sitting on top of stress, sitting on top of stress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What happens when you compound those 3? You get procrastination, which gives you the splinters because you're sitting on the fence. And it's such a stressful situation. Number 5, and I'm not going to go to number 10 straight away. I'm going to go to number 5, and then I'll give you some of the cures. Remember, I promised to give you a solution rather than just telling you what your problem is. So yes. I'm going to cover a few of the cures. So here's the thing. The 5th thing that is the stress behind what people do. It comes from being judged. We live in a society where you want your tribe, you want the people around you to not reject you. So if you were to buy a unit and the unit is right next door to a bikie gang, or right next door to a housing commission area, or right next door to a drug rehabilitation center, it's not the ideal suburb for most people. Now, I'm not saying don't buy that. I'm saying if that's what you know and that's what you want, okay, great, because your price will reflect what you're buying in that area. But imagine if all your friends are living in one area and you're buying in another area to save money. So the stress is being kicked out of the tribe. You do something and everybody goes, we can't believe you did that. You're so ... insert the word. And that's all in your head. Like in your head, you're going, they're going to call me stupid. They're going to call me misinformed. They're going to call me risky. They're going to call whatever name you've inserted into what they're calling you. So one of the biggest stresses, it's not the reality side, it's the perception of what your friends are going to think, of being thrown out of the tribe. And what that meant in the cavemen days is that you would end up going hungry, because we hunt as packs. And if you don't have the support of your friends, you can't hunt the big prey. You have to be a gatherer, and you end up just surviving on the lowest common denominator. So fine, that's okay. But what does that mean? So we have now five. We have five things that cause massive stress at home. What did I do and what do I do? I find mentors, I find coaches, I find people that are actually experts, so that I don't need to learn every single thing on every single area. So for example, Aldwyn is my coach for mass media mastery. Why? Because the mass media isn't like Meta. It's not like Facebook. It's a different style of conversation. I don't want to have to learn everything myself. So I hire a good coach like Aldwyn to talk to Channel 7, Channel 9, SBS, ABC, because these are the mass media outlets that already have the websites, that already have a Twitter account, an X account, that already know how to communicate things in bite-sized details to get through to Reuters, to get through to the big transfer of communication hubs, so that one message just gets spread through a lot more customers than I could personally meet with. Who else? Ethan Cassiotis. Ethan's fantastic as a coach of mine that helps me automate and process and systemize and use computer systems where I don't need to learn everything. I need to know what my business does, what my direction is, but I can defer to my coach and my mentor who has done it themselves in their business to make that move. What do I do with Shani Taylor? So Coach Taylor, if you haven't used Shani Taylor before, Global Coach of the Year, business coach in 2024, as like the Duchess of York. So it's not a self-appointed Coach of the Year. It's somebody that was nominated, that went through a massive international event to be awarded the Global Coach of the Year. JT Fox. If you haven't heard of JT Fox, obviously you haven't met Arnold Schwarzenegger and all of the big celebrities that are not the ones that shan't be named. So the good celebrities, the Sylvester Stallone, the Arnold Schwarzenegger, the tennis pros, the football pros, the Tom Brady's of the world, they're the ones that coach Fox, JT Fox with two X's. They're the ones that communicate with JT Fox. Do I want to find out how to schmooze somebody in Hollywood? It'll cost me so much money to keep flying from Sydney to Hollywood to Sydney to Hollywood, Sydney to Hollywood, just for a chance to get an autograph from Stallone. But the introduction is very valuable to me. Why? Because the type of people that buy property are the ones that aren't on the 0 to 50,000 income. They're the ones that earn 6 figures to 7 figures to 8 figures. Yes, they're celebrities. Doesn't mean I'm going to become a celebrity. I don't want to become a celebrity. I just swim in my lane. My niche is the property on the east coast of Australia, from Noosa in Queensland down to Geelong in Victoria. But where are the American actors, the UK top of charts, the Canadians? Where are they buying? Byron Bay, Coffs Harbour, Bondi Beach. They're coming through to buy in Australia, not the slum areas, but the exclusive properties. So JT Fox knows how to talk to a celebrity, how to not waste time with a billionaire. Shami Taylor knows how to structure your business so that your communication's on point. Aldwyn Altuney knows how to communicate in short, pointy terms that are non-spammy and non-salesy of this is why you need to listen to this big change. Ethan Cassiotis knows how to set up a system so that I'm not checking my emails every 15 seconds because that's distracting. Edward Zia knows how to run a LinkedIn profile so that the business-to-business connections, the B2B, get done in the background so that I'm not just trying to find somebody, but they can find me. So I use coaches to remove the stress, and that's super important. So yeah, that's just a little saver where you do a little bit and you get a lot. And I've been doing that for the last 26 years. I was reading Robert Kiyosaki books and Noel Whittaker books when I was 19, when I was 17, when I was 18, and consistency is the key there.
Yeah, so important. You know, you do become like the 5 people you hang out with. And if you want to excel in any area, it's so important to work with the best in their field in that area. And it's worth investing the money to work with the best in the field. Otherwise, you're going to be paying with a lot of time. And time, of course, is the most valuable thing that you're going to have, you know, and you know, the poor people, they spend their time to save money, and the wealthy people, they invest their money to save time and to fast track things and to leverage things. And this is where you get exponential growth that happens. And of course, if I'm looking to buy property, I go to Amir Meshel. You know, he's the expert at that, not me. So, you know, you definitely want to work with the best in their field. I love that, Amir. And what else have you got there? What other tips have you got up your sleeve?
So I want to do a speed round. So think of this as speed dating. Let's do the next 5. And then I'm going to come up with the other thing that I use it's really going to blow your mind, because if you haven't tried this yet, then you're like, okay, I've got to try this. So the next speed round, the next 5, the discussion into strata or not strata. We spoke about in the first few, what is your income as an ongoing income? So think about your costs as an outgoing cost, the recurring costs. Yes, you buy the property for a certain amount, but strata means that every 3 months, every 90 days, 4 times a year, you're paying something towards contributing for the maintenance of the building. If you're buying a house, you're going to replace your own roof. So you have to save up money to pay for that. If you're going to do, say, a house that's been recently built, you're paying more upfront for it, knowing that you won't need to replace the roof soon. So if you're buying a block of units, not the whole block, you're buying one section of it, that's your unit, your apartment, your flat, whatever name you put on it. You also pay for a little bit of the painting, a little bit of the gardening, a little bit of the re-waterproofing every 10 years. And there's usually a plan. In Australia, at least in New South Wales, there's a 10-year dilapidation plan. There's a 10-year maintenance plan, and that's written into the contracts. So if you already know that you're going to pay a little bit, it's like forced savings. So when people stress out about, well, the ongoing, I've got to keep paying the council rates and I've got to keep paying this, keep paying that. It's a stress, but just do it over a big period of time and just divide it by the number of years. So it takes the stress out when you can just go, right, I understand that it's going to happen. Plan it out and just divide it by small chunks. Put a little bit aside every week from your paycheck, every month from your paycheck, just into not the what if, because this isn't a hypothetical. This is already measured. It's already planned. The next thing, if you follow the markets and you go, you know what, I think that the next Olympics in Brisbane, let's see, 2036 is going to bring a lot of people to Australia. And you start going, well, the whole what if side is I'm buying in this area because I expect it to grow when the Olympics happen. But the Olympics aren't a 6-month event. People show up just for a couple of months. They come, they take lots of photos, and they won't come back for 5 years. So those tourists, they don't see Australia and say, right, we want to live in Queensland. We want to be visitors here. We want to play sports here. They're not going to come back next year. They're going to tell their friends, oh, it's fantastic, but that's it. So you don't get repeat customers from that all the time. It's one big event, but it stresses people out to think of what's the next infrastructure change? What's the next big sporting event? What's the next big thing? because that's not consistency. That's very myopic. That's very short-sighted. You look at things and you decide on a big ticket item where you're investing $1 million, $5 million, $6 million into the biggest purchase you ever make, and you're making that decision on one small event. Don't do it. It's not worthwhile.
Yes.
The next thing I want to talk about, and this is really, a lot of people don't think about this. There is a tax component. There is a bookkeeping component. There is a paperwork component to knowing what you bought, how long before you need to pay more tax on it, what you can do to get a tax refund or a tax discount that's already, according to the government, something they want to do to encourage people to own property. So if you're not sure about your paperwork, if you're not sure about the tax side, that can lead to stress in the house, because in your head, you're running the cycle of, did I remember to tick that box? Did I remember to see an expert that tells me what to do? And the answer to that, of course, is use the same accountant, the same person that does your paperwork every year. Pick somebody good and then let them do your bookkeeping. Let them set up your taxation. Let them set up the automation in just the reporting, just the keeping things on the cloud or in your database, so that you don't need to keep thinking about it. It's automatic. When something changes, when a new government comes in and there's a new budget announced, they usually tell you, next year we're going to give a tax incentive to this group. And your accountant, your financial planner, your bookkeeper will get an email from the government to say, these are the changes in the next 6 months. And it's part of their job to stay up to date with the changes in legislation, with the changes in how to do this. So don't put everything in yourself. Find somebody to do your paperwork. Just getting rid of that paperwork means that you just have a clean bill of health, less stress, because your mind isn't also cycling on something it doesn't need to know how to do. Which one are we up to, Ken? I think we're up to number 9, aren't we?
I believe so.
Outsource as much as possible. Absolutely. And we do need to wrap in the next 9 minutes, because I know you've got another meeting, Amir. So yes, please keep going.
I do. No, we're right on track. So number 9, this is a stress where people don't realize it's a stress. So think about yourself in your current role. Let's say that your role is as a swimming coach. So you teach young children to swim. After you've been in the role for 5 years, you get a level of automaticity. Long word, it just means it becomes automatic. You know how to teach somebody to swim, and visually, just by inspection, just by watching them move their arms, you can tell whether you need to work with them on their breathing, on their stretching in the water, on the amount of times they come up for air, on the left or right, whether they're breathing out the left, their right, or whether it's always the same, whether they should spin at the end of the swimming pool faster. But you don't need to think, which means you're putting less energy into that process, because you now have in your role, in your expertise, automaticity. You can do it on automatic. And that's good, because it means you have more energy to create, to ideate, to think about things. So really, by taking away the stuff that you're constantly learning how to do, if you're always trying to do new things and learning a new skill, you never become efficient. You become better at different skills, but you're never at your peak efficiency. So the biggest mistake people make in the house is they keep changing track all the time. They never become automatic at it because they don't give themselves enough practice. So that works with house buying. It works when you're looking to find investment properties. If you're only in, let's say that you're going to house inspections, but you're only going to 3 a week, it'll never become automatic for you. You'll always have to concentrate when you go into the house to take the photos of the cracks that make a difference, not the cosmetic, but the ones that will keep on shifting. You always have to concentrate on everything and you become exhausted. If you do 50 inspections a week, 50 inspections a week, 50 inspections a week, 50 inspections a week, it becomes, it's second nature to you. It becomes more fun, which means it takes the stress away. The 10th one is not using the right tool for the job. So guess what I'm going to talk about?
Ooh.
AI. So yeah, we spoke about the who. We spoke about finding the right experts for it. What does artificial intelligence do really, really well? It takes very big data and it finds a pattern. It finds something that repeats. It started with a language model. It started saying, you're spelling something incorrectly, because it recognized that when you're using a certain word, if it's got a capital at the beginning, it should be a proper noun, and it started recognizing proper nouns. Then it went further and started giving us grammar lessons. This is 30 years ago. Then 10 years ago, it started becoming more intelligent, so to speak. It started giving us more instructions of, people on Facebook want the structure to be shorter. Then a year ago, we're now using more artificial intelligence for prompting so that we can say to an AI, an artificial intelligence program, that we are this, we want the AI to act like that and to speak there. So you can give a shorthand instruction, and now it creates an emoji with a small bit of writing with the right problems, solutions, and punchy things that make people click. So what's next? Become automatic in what you're really good at, outsource to AI what AI can do as bulk, and then the secret sauce is take everything, read it, and apply the human element to make sure that what it thinks is correct isn't a hallucination.
Mm.
And so now this is at the end, this is the 10. So with those 10, guess what's going to stop you from hallucinating? It's having those coaches like Aldwyn, like Athan, like Edward, like JT, like Shani, that tell you, what are you doing? You're crazy. You're hallucinating. What you're trying to do isn't the ideal use of your time. So take the bits that you have in general terms and specifically apply them to the best use. So that's the easiest way to remove home stress in the top 10.
So good, Amir. Now, I know there's people
Wow.
that are going to wish that they were here from the beginning, but can you just quickly, very quickly go through the 10 very quickly, and then we'll wrap up?
No, I won't do that.
But yeah, by the way, he's got 4 minutes till his next call.
Okay, well, let's start wrapping up. So, Amir, do you have a favorite quote or motto you'd like to share with us today?
My favorite quote is probably going to be, leaders take action. They act first, they act always, and they take the right action at the right time.
Yes.
I got that from Shani Taylor. Coach Taylor does a lot of talk about anchoring in action, and just that perturbation of do, learn, grow. It's massive. It's absolutely massive. So my first customers that I was helping to buy a house in Newcastle back when I started my business in August 2018, I explained to them that my method was the master of AI. And I explained that when I say AI, I mean action it. So that was from the very, very beginning of my business. Action is the most important thing of property buying.
Mm.
Yeah, I love that. Moving into 2025, what we are going to see is faster purchases, high density living, and more self-selling as well, with amazing tool there, Wavy, we mentioned. And I know that you're a big advocate for changing things with the high density living, as far as with government rebates for, with solar panels, etc. So we'll talk more about that in future chats online. Any final words? We know we can connect with Amir, of course, at coasthousebuyer.au. That's COAST house, HOUSEBUYER.au. Final words before you jump off today, Amir.
Decide what you want and make everything else focused on that one thing that you want. Then get that one thing before you move on to the next thing.
Very, very cool. I love that, Amir. And for those who want to reach out to you, I know you've got an amazing offer currently, which if people are interested in, they want support ongoingly. You've got something extraordinary out there that no one else is offering. So I don't know if you want to mention it here or if people can just connect with you and you can let them know about that.
So Aussie Coast Legacy is something that is a very limited group. There's only 100 people globally that are in Legacy. So I don't know if this forum's probably got way too many people, but have a look at my profile on LinkedIn and send me a DM on LinkedIn about Legacy. Just mention the word Legacy and I can explain what the difference is between what Aussie Coast House Buyer does and what Aussie Coast Legacy can do for you if you're the right person, but it's very selective. So it's only for a very small group of the world population, and almost all of them are Australians. So yeah, it's a great program, but it's such it's a limited resource. It's not one of those scarcity things where I say it's only for a short time only, but it's literally only 100 places in the whole world that can do that. So yeah, limited to 100 there.
That's so exciting. Awesome, Amir. It's always fantastic having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I wish you all the very best with your life and business moving forward and all the amazing people you're going to help become millionaires through property investing and that you already have. So well done on making such a big difference in the world. It's been an absolute pleasure, Amir. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure having you on the show. And I personally want to say thank you so much for the very detailed and valuable information that you gave today. You gave a lot, so much so, like, I think my head is still kind of trying to wrap around all that stuff because you like dumped a lot, and that's good. So thank you for bringing so much value.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me online.
Thank you, Amir. Sending much love your way. Connect with Amir Meshel. He's awesome. Running off to another meeting. We're going to stay in here and chat for a little bit longer with Ken and I. And I want to thank everyone also for joining us live. I can see on Instagram, we've got Dinesh Munesh. We've got FR Billingual Entrepreneur, James Donald, Robin Woodford, Reverend Godfrey Bai Amukama is joining us from Uganda. Hello. We've got Matty J. Craven on Instagram. We've got Siny S. Richardson joining us. We've got Linda Morrison. We were just chatting about you earlier, Linda. Ageless Body Formula has joined us on Instagram. We interviewed Linda on our last show. It was an awesome interview. Check it out. And also for those who've joined us on Facebook and on LinkedIn, thank you so much. We had Marzena Sidrenka joined us on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Brad Clark, good to see you. No, you definitely were not the only viewer, Brad. Happy to be here. Happy to have you with us on LinkedIn. Thank you, Brad. Thanks for joining us. And for everyone else who's joined us live, let us know, what did you get out of this episode? What's something you've learned and what's an action you're going to take moving forward? And also, if you know someone that would really benefit from this information today and you want to know what those 10 tips were, because they were awesome, and you'll just need to go back and watch the whole replay to get the 10 tips. So share the love with someone else. Make sure you follow us on Spotify, etc., and like our Facebook page. So we will start wrapping up now. Ken, for those who want to connect with you, where can they go?
Perfect. Okay, so you've got my website. Well, actually, it's my Connect page, and that is www.masteryweightloss.com/connect. It's fairly simple. I don't think I need to spell that out. Mastery, MASTERY, weight loss, one word. .com/connect. So it's as simple as that. On that page, you're going to find 4 links. And the very first link at the top of that page is going to be a link to join my mini educational boot camp. You guys, I'm giving away my 3 secrets to help you break free from those sugar addictions, to help you break free from the snacking issues, the hunger issues, the emotional eating, lose the weight, and finally be able to keep it off for good without a diet and having that be sustainable. All in 3 one-on-one sessions with me. You are going to be equipped with an empowered mindset shift, number 1. And number 2, you will be equipped to see past the industry lies and avoid the common pitfalls. And number 3, you will be equipped to see past the marketing deceptions of this industry. They put it all over the packages, the pre-made foods, all of it. They put it all over, making you think that what you're buying is healthy. And a lot of people are buying into that because they really think that they're making good choices for their family and their kids. But in reality, there's a large percentage of people that are out there just simply buying into marketing deceptions, and they don't even know it. And they're wondering why they're not getting results on the other end of the spectrum. Well, I help you see past all of that, all in 3 one-on-one sessions with me. My boot camp has been valued, literally, not my words, this is out of the mouths of other people. It's been valued at $1,500. My boot camp right now is only going for $97. That is a steal. You've got to get on board with that. You've got nothing to lose but those extra pounds, and you've got everything to gain in the right way, in a very freeing way. My boot camp is going to give you more freedom than you've ever had before. So get along into that boot camp, only $97. Seriously, that's a steal. And I don't know how long I'm keeping it at that price. My coach is already telling me it's time to raise it again soon. So get in there, lock in your price. The other 3 links on that page is a link to connect with me on Facebook, a link to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Lots of good stuff on my YouTube channel. And also a link to book an assessment call with me. Hey, you got some questions, you want some clarity around some things, get on a free assessment call with me. Seriously, free, right? That there's definitely nothing to lose there. So that is how you can connect with me. And my quote is going to be this, because I saw this and I was like, oh, that's so perfect. So check this out. And this is by author unknown. So a house is made of bricks and beams. A home is made of hopes and dreams. So when stress takes over, it's easy to forget the heart of what makes it a home, a place of love, not just a structure.
Yeah, I love that, Ken. I actually had that quote as well in the background. I was going to
No
mention
way.
it. I'm really glad you mentioned that. I love that quote. That is very, very cool. Thank you, Ken. Amazing. I do have some other ones up my sleeve, though. So I'm going to share one here. Much of the stress that people feel doesn't come from having too much to do. It comes from not finishing what they've started. And that's a great one for anyone who is in a home. Okay, because especially if you own a home and you're doing renovations, for example, that's something that will never end. Right? There's always more that can be done in a home. And also when you're renting a home as well, you know, you can always do more to decorate it. You can always, there's always so much you can do with a home that can cause extra stress. If you've said to yourself, I'm going to do this at the house and you haven't done it yet, that could be the cause of stress for you. Another great one I like, another quote, home is where love resides, memories are created, friends always belong, and laughter never ends.
I love that one.
Laughter never ends. And that's our quotes for today. Now, if people want to connect with me, if you'd like to connect with me, then just hop along to linktree/Aldwyn. That's linktr.ee/Aldwyn. This is my YouTube channel here. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe there. And we've had actually over 290,000 views now across our 1,400 videos on the YouTube channel. So make sure you hop along there. Check out our previous episodes also of Total Truth Show. You'll find them on Spotify, BitChute, Rumble. You'll find them also on YouTube and Facebook and all over the place. So we've had some amazing episodes, I must say. 95 episodes. We're coming up to 100. That's very, very exciting. As we said, longer than a lot of marriages. And we've never actually met in person, amazingly. And this is a beautiful thing that's come out of the whole pandemic, is us meeting on an online networking event, interviewing each other for each other's shows. And here we are now with this beautiful collaboration. And you did just have a birthday recently, didn't you, Ken? It's your birthday?
I did. I had a birthday, 49.
49
years young.
Happy birthday. And when was your birthday?
February 7th.
There you go, February 7th. And I'm January 16th. So I just had a birthday too. So isn't that interesting that our birthdays are within a few weeks of each other as well? Capricorn, Aquarius. and I've got Aquarius rising too. So we've got a lot of communication in our charts for those that are into astrology. Fascinating. Now, for those who hop along to the Linktree/Aldwyn link there, you'll find a whole lot of free media resources there. You'll find a link to the Global Good News Challenge, which is a free monthly challenge that we have sharing gratitude and good news and helping to decrease depression rates out there, which of course can cause a lot of stress as well at the home, is being depressed. Watching too much TV, negative news, etc., will definitely lead to more stress for you at home as well. So I help people get out there, be seen, heard, and known through the mass media. Okay, so if you're ready to step it up, build your profile, make a bigger impact in the world through mass media exposure, then reach out, send me a PM or a DM on socials. You'll find all my social links in there. So let's connect in there. And here's to an awesome year ahead. I can't believe it's already about 2/3 of the way through February already. It is insane. 18th of February here, 17th of February in America, and my goodness, it's going to be a hell of a year moving forward.
We're already a little bit more. A little bit more than halfway through the first quarter of the year. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. And it's just gone just like that. And now, I mean, talking about home stress, well, people in Gaza are certainly feeling a lot of home stress because they haven't got any homes because they've been absolutely desecrated. And now what's going on with Ukraine, and oh gosh, interesting things have happened. I must say, Trump, his massive action taker, no matter what you think of him, he has been making things happen fast since he's come into government in the US. So it's going to be an interesting year ahead, I think, with what's coming up. And some of it you may agree with and some of it you won't. The fact is, you can only control what you can control. So don't let it stress you what's going on in government and what's going on around you that you can't control. Be committed, not attached, my friends, moving forward. Be committed, not attached to what you want. Do your best to live your best life. I think that is really the trick to life. My mum's still in hospital 2 months on. She's still bedridden after this fall with the, under the care of a carer in her house, December 17. She is still bedridden. She can't feed herself. She can't, it's horrible. She already had dementia, but now she has so much fear of getting out of bed. It's been absolutely horrible. So while that's been happening in the background the last 2 months, I'm doing my best to live my best life. And I tell you, it is challenging. It is challenging. Sometimes life throws curveballs, right? Which can create a lot of stress in the home and out of the home, right? And it's all about, okay, what can you do to be grateful every day regardless? Because I do believe everything happens for us, not to us. Even when it feels like crap at the time, there's always some learnings, there's always some benefits. And on a positive note, I'm getting a lot of quality time with my mum now that she's in a hospital bed. I feed her nearly every night when I'm in town on the Sunshine Coast. And, I spend hours with her now, whereas before, when she was walking and when she was, able to feed herself, I wasn't spending that quality time with my mum. So I am really grateful for that. And that's the thing. There's always something we can be grateful for, even if we're feeling the stress of whatever life sometimes throws at us, right?
Yes.
So, yes, on that note, any final words, Ken, for this amazing episode?
No, I'm just really grateful for Amir for coming on the show. Like I said, he shared a lot of stuff. And I do have to admit, some of it kind of went a little over my head because I couldn't wrap my head around it. Nonetheless, like what he brought was just so much. There's a lot of gold. There's a lot of really good stuff. And so having him on the show today was a pleasure.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Amir Meshel. Love your work. And if you are looking to buy property or invest in more properties, then Amir is amazing. And I definitely recommend reach out to him. And once again, if you have just joined us, you can connect with Amir at coasthousebuyer.au, COAST housebuyer.au. You can connect with Ken at masteryweightloss.com/connect, and you can connect with me at linktree/Aldwyn, linktr.ee/Aldwyn. Thank you so much for joining us today, wherever you have joined in the world. If you're watching live, pop live in the chat. If you're watching the replay, pop replay in the chat and let us know what you got out of the show. Share the love. We'll see you again next time on Total Truth Show, episode 96. Let's see who we've got coming up. Let's see. It's a secret until we announce it. So stay tuned and we'll see you then. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. Bye. See you. Thanks, Ken. Bye.